Welcome in, everybody. It's Wednesday, and that means one thing. It's time now for Supernatural News. Let's bring in our buddy, the BCB, the big cuddly bear himself, Beer City Bruiser. How you doing, Bruiser?
I'm doing great, Tim, and I want to take a second to thank you and all our listeners for allowing me to come on and welcoming so much with this podcast. It's helped out so much with making the transition from underwater needlepoint to everyday life, and I keep getting messages every day from fans saying how much they love your and I little banter back and forth on both True Crime Tuesdays and the Paranormal Wednesdays. So thank you, fans.
Well,
and Tim,
sir, you have been the most welcome addition of all to the show. I got to tell you, when I first took over the reins permanently, I didn't quite know how this thing was gonna go. I mean, I know I had Mally, I had Jess. I can't say I had them. I knew they were going to be making appearances on the show, but I didn't quite know how this whole thing was going to shake out. I had an idea. I had a game plan. I knew what I wanted to do with this show, but it couldn't have come along more perfectly, and that is because of you, sir. So I tip my cap to you, and I thank you. So. Well,
I thank you right back, and I thank the fans for listening and keeping you and I on our toes, too, because they're quick to let us know when we get something wrong.
Oh yeah. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with
fine.
that.
Yep. I'm open to. I had someone email me the other day about little fairies and stuff, so I learned something new.
Oh yes.
I love it. I love it. I love learning the new stuff when we cover stuff.
Yep, absolutely. We got plenty on our plate today, there, sir. We're plenty of stuff on UFOs. We're gonna talk about Gracie Mansion there in New York. Evidently, Mayor Eric Adams says it's haunted, and we're gonna find out exactly how. Paul McCartney says there ain't no such thing as ghosts. he's close enough to the veil to find out. We'll talk about that.
Say, he should know.
Which makes me wonder if he's ever seen John Lennon.
I bet you he has.
He might have.
They were close enough. It makes sense.
You would think.
Or George Harrison, too. Maybe he sees George.
Maybe. I don't know. There's a really bad joke in there. I'm not going to tell. And we've got much, much more for you today on Supernatural News Wednesday. We'll start it off, though, however, with Congress. You know, Congress has more things going on than just, I don't know, inflation and other things, and gas prices and, things that we really could have solved. Instead, they're casting their eyes to the sky there, Bruiser. The chair of the first UFO hearing since the 1960s says someone has to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Congress last held a hearing on reports of UFOs, unidentified flying objects synonymous with space aliens, in the 1960s. And even in the realm of fiction, Scully and Mulder of the X-Files seem to have retired. Wah, wah. Actually, I used to have that on my button bar there. Wah, wah. Someone has to do it. Representative Andre Carson, an Indiana Democrat, says of the need for a public examination of unexplained aerial phenomena. That's this button, right? That's this. Phenomena. Yeah, that one. The two top defense intelligence officials are set to answer questions from the House Intelligence Committee's Subcommittee on Counterterrorism, Counterintelligence, and Counterproliferation. They sure like their counters up there.
They do. They're countering everything. Look at that.
Yeah, they are. As part of the session in Washington that's scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. as of this article's writing, but they've
counterterrorism. Does he think the aliens are going to come in and they're going to be terrorists? Like, is that the idea?
I guess so.
Like, why are we bringing counterterrorism into the UAPs?
I don't know.
Oh, praise Ed.
I have no idea. There are ways that we can raise questions that ufologists have raised for many years and just average everyday citizens have raised for decades now, Carson said, standing outside the Capitol. We all watch television. We've heard things. We've read things, he said. We want to see the footage and have it explained to us. That's what we want to accomplish. Huh. Interesting.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Last June, a greatly anticipated declassified report found that more than 140 so-called unidentified, oh my gosh, let me rewind that, unidentified aerial phenomena incidents investigated by the government since 2004 many reported by naval aviators could not be explained. The 47-year-old Carson said there could be national security implications in some of what the committee learned or will learn or did learn last Tuesday. That's one reason a classified closed briefing will follow the public hearing, he added. The second session was necessary, even if it generated fresh suspicion of some government cover-up, Carson said, because our enemies will be listening very closely to hear what the military has to say, and we don't want to give them an advantage over us. But he hoped the public...
So he's afraid our enemies are going to take our UAP investigations and somehow turn that against us? Are they going to befriend the aliens?
I guess, yeah, and invite them into their country first, yeah.
Yeah, come to Russia first. Don't worry about that. Oh, okay.
All right, then. we will follow wherever we need to be. They had better beer and women.
Yeah, I guess so.
Putin says this about you. What do you say?
Yeah, they play he said, she said. But he hoped the public portion won't just be a black hole of government deflection. He said some experts say 2% to 7% of these sightings are not based on weather balloons or computer malfunctions or aircraft that is top secret. We can't explain it away. So hopefully we can dig much deeper and find out what's going on, Carson went on to say. Carson also added that he'd personally like to think that there's life beyond Earth. I'd like to think in the realm of possibility that there's other life forms out there within our solar system. Who knows, said Carson. Might life forms exist on one of the moons of one of our planets? I mean, that's for NASA and other folks to let us know. Well, I'm glad he's delegating. I mean, that's nice.
And it just proves, too, how toxic social media can be. Because I follow a couple of the, since they announced who's on the UAP investigation stuff, I follow them on Twitter and stuff. And they're all already arguing about stuff they haven't even investigated yet. It's like, why are you arguing? You haven't started anything. But that's social media for you.
Ah, that's encouraging.
Isn't it, though?
So encouraging.
And now we're worried about our enemies getting to the aliens first. And it's just like, come on. Let's all find out what it is first and then take the next step.
Well, here's something encouraging. I mean, as far as the UAP thing goes, several U.S. Navy personnel who served aboard the USS Ronald Reagan say they've encountered a mysterious orb-shaped flying object in 2004 while on duty off the eastern coast of the United States. Nearly 2 decades later, the incident still defies explanation. Witnesses who were on the nuclear-powered Nimitz-class supercarrier the night of the incident described seeing a 20 to 40-foot-wide luminous round object, which suddenly appeared and began to hover over the ship's flight deck. Adding to the strangeness of the event, sailors who witnessed this say their naval commanders seemed disinterested that a large glowing orb was reported flying over the ship. Of course they did. And continued normal operations without ordering any defensive actions be taken. Now the debrief, which is the article and the paper I'm reading from, has spoken with nearly a dozen witnesses to the 2004 incident, allowing documentation of this remarkable observation of unidentified aerial phenomena by multiple U.S. Navy servicemen to finally be brought to light. On July 12th of 2003, the USS Ronald Reagan was commissioned and became the 9th Nimitz-class nuclear-powered supercarrier at 1,092 feet long. The vessel currently supports a total crew of 5,680. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Often called 76ers, based on the CVN 76 designation. An Air Wing crew of 2,480, an 80-plus aircraft, it says, 2 Westinghouse A4W nuclear reactors, and up to 260,000 horsepower and a max speed of 30 knots. That'll get up and go.
Yeah, that thing will move.
Yeah. In 2003, the USS Ronald Reagan called the East Coast home while conducting sea trials. Evidently looking for Aquaman, Bruiser is what they were doing.
That's what they were looking for, huh?
Yep. This area of Atlantic Ocean operations ranged from Florida to Virginia, utilizing the Naval Virginia Capes Range Complex. They call it the vac capes. I don't know. That's
That's a tongue twister, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the anagram. It's too long for me. The Cherry Point Naval Operations Area and the Jacksonville Operations Area, which is called the Fax Jacks. That just rolls off the tongue.
It does. That one was better than the Fast Facts first one.
Yeah, the first one was the Fax Vacapes. I don't know. Between January and May of 2004, the carrier was undergoing secondary flight deck certifications off the East Coast as part of a post-shakedown availability. They call it a PSA. We used to call those public service announcements in the radio.
Isn't that a public service announcement?
It is, yeah. A certification process for newly acquired naval vessels that allow for the correction of deficiencies that were found in the initial shakedown cruise. The shakedown cruise, I think we're wrestling on one of those, aren't we?
I think we are.
Yeah. You basically
or we're just shaking down a bunch of people for money.
That's essentially what it is. On May 27th, 2004, Reagan left Norfolk to begin the long circumnavigation around South America to its permanent home port in San Diego, California. During the USS Ronald Reagan's post-shakedown availability, various flight decks certifications were ongoing, and squadrons were using the ship to train. The VX-23 Salty Dogs test, there's a joke for that as well, and Evaluation Squadron performed flight tests from the ship in July of 2003, while the VFA-15 Valiants also performed flight deck evaluations in May of 2004. Though it appears no permanent air wing had been attached to the ship during this time, in May of 2004, I know this will make sense in a minute, folks. Carrier Air Wing 11, normally attached to USS Nimitz, embarked 25% of its aircraft aboard the USS Ronald Reagan for transit around South America. Of note, VFA 41, or the Black Aces, famous for Commander David Fravor's 2004 Tic Tac encounter, this is where it starts to make sense, was also aboard the ship, although it's unclear whether Fravor was part of the detachment at that time. This is where the UFOs come in. Here's where the UAP comes in. During the debrief's ongoing investigation, they identified and interviewed 5 witnesses who were aboard the USS Reagan during the time frame of the incident, and who were all able to provide firsthand accounts of having witnessed the USAP. It wasn't American based; it was a UAP.
So we got to him first. It's a USAP now, right? We got to him first.
Yes, we planted a flag right in its ass, Bruiser. That's why it's a USAP. As part of the process, verification of military service was completed using DD-214 military separations documents, the official 2004 USS Ronald Reagan cruise book. There is one. You have to sign it when you get aboard.
Oh, okay.
And corroborating witness statements. Although multiple interviews and record checks were conducted, none of the witnesses that they spoke to were able to remember the specific date of the encounter, which is interesting. Carol Olesiak, I believe, was a third-class petty officer and quartermaster on the Ronald Reagan at the time of the incident. His job involved navigation of the ship, working from the main bridge at the navigation table. He was also responsible for the USS Reagan's official ship logbook during the encounter. On the day of the UAP event, Carroll was quartermaster of the watch during the 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. time frame. This duty required him to report to the main bridge navigation table and involved coordination of maneuvering the vessel. Olesiak told the debrief that when he arrived to relieve the previous watch that evening, the outgoing quartermaster of the watch indicated that something was already going on at the time, though the individual offered no additional information. However, it soon became apparent to Olesiak that something was happening outside above the flight deck. I'm pretty sure it was there, Olesiak said, and they were like, I don't know what that is. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like they had an attitude like, I'm going to my rack. I don't care. Don't even bother me with this shit.
My shift is over. Leave me alone.
That's exactly what it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had a long day on the deck. Leave me alone.
I don't want to look at UFOs. So this thing is there the entirety of my watch because the officers are ignoring it, I'm forced to ignore it.
Oh.
Interesting.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah. Olesiak emphasized that everyone was working 16-hour shifts, and unless an issue was life-threatening, most problems were prioritized. He stated that his prior training in boot camp indoctrinated him to not question orders. The officer of the watch continued normal bridge operations, he said. Olesiak said he saw a large, round, and orange-colored glowing object with a fiery surface hovering about 100 feet above the flight deck. I think
this is one of those situations where you can break protocol.
I think so. I think you're in danger at that point.
Yeah. You don't know what it is. You have to at least have your guard up thinking it's going to be dangerous.
Yeah. He said he viewed this object directly through the windows on the bridge at eye level. Olesiak says the surface of the object reminded him of biblical descriptions of the burning bush.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
In the Eastern Orthodox Church, they explain the burning bush as unburnt energy, Olesiak mused. When you see it, if you are entranced by the novelty of it, you've never seen it before, right? You've never seen negative energy, but it's there. You don't know what it is. The experience of seeing something you haven't seen before. Olesiak pointed out that the officer of the watch and the conning officer, he could be coming too, you never know, on the bridge were not alarmed by the object. They continued working as if nothing unusual was going on. When asked to clarify why he did not report his sighting, Olesiak stated that his training required him to defer to senior officers. Since they had observed it and were not reacting, likewise, it was his responsibility to stay on task. It's a problem when somebody says that it's a problem. It's a problem when somebody tells you that it's a problem, he stated. Carroll said he was surprised that aircraft operations continued. And
I would be too. Like, why are you sending... There's this thing hovering over a ship. Why are we sending aircrafts?
Yeah. Well, not only that, but you've got planes there, and that's what we get to in this next point. And it's watching the planes. It's watching the planes get launched, he said. For me, even though I'd never seen it before, I thought that this was natural, that, this was an organic thing that we could, or that we would, maybe another form of life, maybe, but something we would figure out in the future.
I'm surprised none of the pilots said anything because it had to be in their flight path if it was right over the deck.
Yeah, well, you're launching into it or around it, so you would think you'd be a little alarmed to even be going by it.
Like at some point in time, it's going to come into your view and in your flight path.
Yep. Carroll only viewed the object from his position on the bridge. He does not remember seeing the object arrive or move in any way other than match the speed of the ship, which he said was ahead at 22 knots based on flight ops. He believes that the object was in the same location during the entirety of his 4-hour watch. Olesiak first wrote about the sighting on his website in October of 2021. UAP investigator Keith Basterfield brought this article to the attention of Dave Beatty for the report. You can also hear more from Carol Olesiak in a video interview with Dave Beatty, which is on a website. Very interesting stuff. There's other witnesses as well in this article, which we're not going to go through, but the most credible is Olesiak, who witnessed this thing all day long.
Yeah. I still go along to believe that there's got to be something in our seas. You see so many reports of UAPs over bodies of water. There's got to be something with them under the surface of the water. And didn't you say, I forget his name, but the one guy's going to do the research on the bottom of the sea because he thinks there's a base or something down there? Which
guy is that?
Oh, I forget his name. He's speaking at the in Utah on the 27th.
Oh, at the UFO Disclosure Symposium.
Yeah. He's his name's escaping me. And I know the fans are gonna
Professor Avi Leb.
Yeah, because remember he's doing that search.
Yes.
Under the ocean.
Yep.
Like this just. I don't know how many times we've heard stories about they were on a boat or they were flying over the ocean and they see this stuff.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you brought up the UFO Disclosure Symposium, by the way. There are 4 videos, top secret videos of UAP that are going to be at that symposium. And by the way, we're less than 2 weeks away now.
Yeah.
From the UAP, from the UFO Disclosure Symposium. That is taking place the 27th through the 29th. If you can't make it out to Vernal, Utah, because it is short notice, by the way, you can watch it from home. And that package is available right now. There's going to be a link in the description of this program. You click on that link and you can order that package right now. And it's I believe it's relatively affordable. I think it's $60 for the entire weekend.
Well, that ain't bad at all.
No, Dr. Travis Taylor from the Hunt for Skinwalker program on History Channel will be there.
I'm excited to hear him speak, because I like the way he does his research.
Yep. Dr. Avi Leb, like you just mentioned, will be there. Yep. Our good friend Micah Hanks will be there as well. Many, many others will be at that symposium, so you're going to want to check that out.
I'm curious to see how many of those 4 videos take over a body of water. Just because for right now I'm on this kick that UAPs or UFOs, there's something to do with water. And I think that's where they're recharging, or they're almost like a gas station. You know what I mean? Like they fly in and they know they can go under the water because it's almost the same as being in space and the weightlessness and stuff, and they're able to refuel or whatever and do whatever they have to do.
You can't throw any of those theories out. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that UAP committee that we were just talking about, they need to get on this.
That's right. Well, I think they're a little busy legislating, but
they're worried more about the aliens going to Russia than they are anything else.
That's right. They're worried they'll go over there and negotiate. But like old Carson said, we'll throw it at NASA and they can figure it out. We've got another story here that there's a tech pioneer that's warning us of an alien invasion. So maybe he can get on it.
Okay.
And he can figure this out and talk to the aliens directly. And he'll figure it out and then tell Congress, I guess. I have no idea how this works from here.
Well, when you're a tech billionaire, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, very much so. An alien species is headed for planet Earth, and we have no reason to believe it will be friendly. Oh, good.
Why are they always going this way? You and I always talk about this. They always think they're coming in to take over the planet. What if they just want to stop by and say hi? What if we're just like...
I tend to be of a... It's not that I'm not a trusting person, but I tend to be of a mind that if I were coming to this planet, I wouldn't trust anybody here.
I wouldn't either. And I'm not saying we go into... If they make themselves known and we have an actual sit-down meeting, I'm not saying have our defenses up. But if we're going in the meeting right off the bat, hey, they're hostile, it's not going to turn out well.
I mean, we've done enough dumb crime, stupid criminals together to know that there ain't friendly people in the U.S. I would come loaded for bear if I were an alien. So I'm just thinking this thing isn't going to end well.
They probably just saw the state of Florida and all the stuff we cover on stupid crime or dumb crime, stupid criminals, and went,
yes, we definitely need to come loaded. There's lots of meth on this planet. I'm going to shoot you fuckers.
I just think that's how it's going down. Yeah. Here's the story here. Some experts predict it'll get here, that it will get here. It says within 30 years, it will get here. That's the language that they're putting out there. While others insist it will arrive sooner. Nobody knows what it will look like, but it will share 2 key traits with us humans. It will be intelligent and self-aware. No, this alien will not come from a distant planet. It will be born right here on Earth, it says, hatched in a research lab at a major university or large corporation. The writer of this article says, I'm referring to the first artificial general intelligence that reaches or exceeds human level cognition. Oh, you know what that means? We got to hit this deal right here.
Yep.
Yeah, baby.
We're going into Nightmare Town.
That's right. Nightmare fuel for you. The article, or the writer of this article says, as I write these words, billions are being spent to bring this alien to life. Oh, wow, this guy is in our camp, Bruiser. He says...
He's saying don't do it?
Yep, don't do it. He says, as it would be viewed as one of the greatest technological achievements in human history, but unlike our other inventions, this one would have a mind of its own, literally. And if it behaves like every other intelligent species we know, it will put its own self-interest first. Oh, I love this. Working to maximize its prospects for survival.
We just need to send them all the archives of you and I discussing about how AI is a bad idea. because all it wants to do is kill us.
That's true.
That man's microwave, for God's sake. He put AI in it. The first thing I wanted to do is cook them. Now we're creating an alien AI bot. Like, of course it's going to take over the world.
Of course. This is just nightmare fuel all the way down. I don't know that I want to read the entire story, but let me give you a little more taste of it. He says, should we fear a superior intelligence driven by its own goals, values, and self-interest? Many people reject this question, believing we will build AI systems in our own image, ensuring they think, feel, and behave just like we do. This is extremely unlikely to be the case. Artificial minds will not be created by writing software with carefully crafted rules that make them think like us. Instead, engineers feed massive data sets into simple algorithms that automatically adjust their own parameters, making millions upon millions of tiny changes to their structure until an intelligence emerges. An intelligence with inner workings that are far too complex for us to comprehend. And no, feeding it data about humans will not make it think like humans do. This is a common misconception. The false belief that by training an AI on data that describes human behaviors, we will ensure it ends up thinking, feeling, and acting like we do. It will not, sir. It will not.
Well, and I don't want it to think and feel like we do, because humans are flawed. We all are flawed. You give a human a little bit of power and look what happens. We're all flawed. I don't want AI that's flawed, because it's going to take over the world.
There's a paragraph called The Danger Within.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about it?
Oh, of course. Anything we can, Tim, our mission right now is to get out that AI is bad. We just need a shirt that says AI is bad.
AI is bad. You could, should we let people in on what we said on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals? Basically what you want to do is you want to take AI's dick out and you want to slap it right in the head, right where the...
Like a ketchup bottle.
Like a ketchup bottle. That'll get it to be good. Just saying. You guys got to start listening to Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. We have a lot of good tips there. I mean, not literally tips. I mean, but
and how to hit those tips.
How to hit those tips right on the head so they behave. Okay, The Danger Within, Part 2. After all, an alien mind built here will know everything about us from the moment it arrives, having been designed to understand humans inside and out, optimized to sense our emotions and anticipate our actions, predict our feelings, influence our beliefs, and sway our opinions. If creatures speeding towards us in sleek silver spaceships had such deep knowledge of our behaviors and tendencies, we'd be terrified. God, I'm terrifying myself here right now.
Yeah, this is nightmare fuel.
It is. Already, AI can defeat our best players at our hardest games on Earth, but really, these systems don't just master the games of chess, poker, and Go. Does anybody play Go online anymore?
I'm not familiar with Go.
I'm not either. They master the game of humans, learning to accurately forecast our actions and reactions, anticipating our mistakes, and exploiting our weaknesses. Researchers around the world are already developing AI systems to outthink us, outnegotiate us, and outmaneuver us. Is there anything we can do to protect ourselves? We certainly... I feel like I should be reading this like Alex Jones.
Yeah, I was
You want me
say.
to? Yeah, hold on a second. We certainly can't stop AI from getting more powerful, as no innovation has ever been contained. Is that better?
That worked.
Okay.
That put the nightmare fuel right in there.
Right. And while some working to put safeguards in place, we can't assume it will be enough to eliminate the threat, Bruiser. In fact, a poll by Pew Research indicates the few professionals believe the industry will implement meaningful ethical AI practices by 2030. Now I'm getting dizzy. I probably should stop doing that.
all the oxygen left your head.
Oh my God, I can't breathe. So how can we prepare for survival there, Bruiser?
I'm worried that we're creating this AI bot to look like an alien and all that.
Yeah.
Do you think the aliens are going to be pissed off when they land and we see it? And they're like,
They think we're that ugly? What is this? This doesn't even look like me.
Yeah.
Now we pissed off the aliens. So now we have angry AI coming after us, pissed off aliens coming after us. AI is bad.
So basically what we do, Bruiser, is we sell them the vitamins. That's what we do. We get the AI to buy the vitamins and I don't know.
You seeing spots yet?
I am, yeah. Holy cow. Whew, that's enough of that article. Holy smokes. I wore out my voice and I can't see anything right now. I think I need to go get a checkup at the doctor. That'll get your heart rate up in a minute.
Yeah, well.
Woo. Yeah, the Alex Jones is hard to do. That's how does he keep doing that?
I don't know. I've always wondered that about him. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I think
that's right. Ah. He claims it's just an act for the radio, Bruiser.
I don't know.
Could you talk like that for an hour and a half?
I guarantee you that's not his dinner voice.
It's not.
He's not at the supper table talking like that.
Let me order from the kids' menu.
I'd like a double cheeseburger and fries, please.
Please. I don't think please comes out with that voice. There's not pleasantries that come out of that. Oh, excuse me. Please and thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't sound right. Let's move on, shall we?
Well, let's move on.
Science. Oh, by the way, if you're moving to Mars with this whole Mars movement,
okay,
don't go if you hate earthquakes. If you're living in California and earthquakes aren't your deal, Mars isn't your deal either.
A lot of earthquakes on Mars, huh?
Yeah, earthquakes on Mars.
Then I'm going to avoid Mars.
Probably should.
I've never been in an earthquake, and I don't want to be in an earthquake.
I never have either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not my bag, though. If the earth moves under my feet, I'm singing the song. I'm not necessarily participating in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scientists detect the biggest extraterrestrial earthquake ever. A magnitude 5 Mars quake was recorded last week on Mars. By far the strongest tremor ever detected off Earth.
What does that rank on the Geiger counter? I didn't know we had a certain measurement for Mars earthquakes. Wouldn't it just be a Geiger? Because isn't that how they measure our earthquakes?
Magnitude 5 is on the Richter scale.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's on. That's it. The Richter scale. It is on there. Okay. See, I'm not too familiar. I just know people mark themselves days on Facebook when an earthquake happens. So.
Yep. A robot on Mars has detected the biggest earthquake ever felt on another planet, a Martian tremor. By the way, if you ever give the wife a Martian tremor, I think she'll love you forever. Yeah.
She'll remember that for a long, long time.
She will. That reached a magnitude of 5 on the Richter scale, according to a statement issued by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. The record-breaking Mars quake not only demonstrates geological activity on Mars, but also opens a window into the mysterious interior of the red planet. The quake was captured by NASA's InSight mission, a lander that touched down on Mars in November of 2018. InSight is equipped with a sensitive component called the Seismic Experiment for Interior Structure, or SAIS. That's right after Cinco.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
seis,
and then siete,
and
then ocho, then nueve. I remember my 7th grade Spanish. Just saying. Which is the first seismometer.
That needs to be sound like when we say phenomenon. It should be seismometer.
Seismometer. Phenomena. Yeah. Seismometer.
Phenomena.
It's the first seismometer ever deployed on an extraterrestrial world. Actually, NASA InSight does have a Twitter. It's called @NASA Insights. And then they actually tweeted out on this deal. They said, "Felt that one?" No, because we're not on Mars.
I was going to say, what, does it travel through space and shake the Earth?
Evidently not. They said, after more than 3 years of listening to the soft rumbles of Mars, hey now, I just felt by far my biggest Mars quake yet. Dear Penthouse, I just felt my biggest Mars quake yet. Looks like about a
late night paranormal with Tim and Bruiser.
That's right.
You can feel your Mars tremor.
Dear Penthouse, we were alone together, Mars and I couldn't help but notice Mars was quaking. So it was like about a magnitude 5. My team is studying the data to learn more. Science rewards patience, it says here, evidently. Designed and built by France's National Center for Space Studies, which is the national government space agency, SACE. Siete Ocho Nueve, has recorded more than 1,300 Mars quakes since it began out. 1,300?
Wow.
And we want to go live there?
Why would we want to live there?
I ain't going nowhere that's quaking that much.
No. There's obviously something going on where it's still shifting enough that it's causing earthquakes. Or
Mars quakes. Yeah.
Mars quakes.
Does anybody know about the quake?
That's going to be a term that you got to get used to. Earthquake, Mars quake.
Didn't Prince have a song about Mars quakes?
No, but they caused a lot of Mars quakes.
Yeah. 1,300 Mars quakes since it began operating 3 years ago.
Wow. 1,300 in 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about no long division, but ain't that 930 quakes a year?
How about we let Mars work out its issues before we show up?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it, Bruiser. Y'all got some issues. Y'all work it out.
And then we'll show up and populate you.
Y'all's name is y'all. My name's Paul. I'm out of it. Y'all work it out. However, none has come close to matching the intensity of the magnitude 5 monster quake, as JPL put it, that shook Mars last Wednesday, May 4th. Well, it's a few Wednesdays ago. On Earth, this magnitude would be classified as a common medium-sized event, somewhat similar to a quake that struck Namibia last month. That's fun to say. But on Mars, Namibia. There's no additional M, so it's Namibia. Yeah, last month. But on Mars, this strength is much more rare. The previous record holder, which occurred in August of 2021, reached a magnitude of 4.2, making it just a sixth of the strength of the recent quake of the recent Richter scale. As seismic waves pass through the Martian crust, mantle, and core, they bounce off of or pass through various interior structures. As a result of these encounters, rumbles detected by InSight can be mined for valuable information about the size, composition, and distribution of features inside the planet. That data, in turn, helps to unravel the story of Mars's formation and evolution, and by extension, shed light on other rocky planets such as Earth. Here's my question. Okay, so Mars has no atmosphere.
Okay.
Or very little atmosphere.
Right.
We want to, the brilliance that we are, we want to go repopulate Mars. So Mars isn't stable.
Well, obviously, if it's having 1,300 quakes in the last 3 years.
Right. So it's shaking and quaking and has no atmosphere. Is it really smart to say, let's go to Mars?
Wait, why did we choose Mars? Like, because there's so many other planets. And I get that's the closest to Earth, or the most like Earth.
Right, that's why.
But it's obviously not ready for human population.
Right.
It like we said earlier, it's got issues it's got to work out.
Right. It's got a lot of issues it's got to work out.
I think what they're thinking is if we put something on there that creates an atmosphere, it's going to slow down all these quakes and everything.
Or stabilize, but it's not.
How do we know that? Yeah, how do we know that?
It's already a planet that's died. If it was ever like Earth, if it ever did have, and obviously it has water because we've discovered water there. Mm-hmm. So obviously at one time it was a planet similar to Earth. Not saying it was like Earth, but maybe similar. It's already gone through that evolutionary change and it's died.
I'm going to blow your mind, Tim. What if Mars, back before it passed away, back before it became a dead planet, knew the planet was dying, so they sent stuff to Earth to populate Earth, and now that we're all here, it's been so many years since they've been here, we're looking backwards.
Well, that's a theory that's been out there, and it's not.
Is it?
Yeah, that theory is out there that we actually, because the way the theory goes is if you look at our bones and our ligaments and how easily we tear ligaments in this gravitational structure, mm-hmm. and then you look at apes and how apes can leap from trees and how they never sustain injury, yet we do. If we jump from the same heights as apes, how we'll injure something, yet an ape won't. You can't draw the line, or you can't draw a parallel between us and apes because bone structure, ligament structure is different. There's some people that contend that we might have come from a different planet, such as Mars, or we might have been transplanted from a different planet, such as Mars, by alien ancestors.
Yeah, because they were trying to Superman and get out of there before the planet died.
Exactly, because that planet, or our home planet, such as Mars, might have had a lighter atmosphere. It might have had, the perfect conditions on Mars.
Well, especially if the planet's dying, your atmosphere is going to be going first, because with no atmosphere, you can't have life.
Right. So that's why, and that's. I'm trying to remember who came up with that theory. Somebody in our audience will tell us. I'm sure they'll email us and let us know, and we'll come back.
I can subscribe to that theory though after hearing about this.
Yeah, and it's and that would have happened thousands upon thousands of years ago.
Right.
And to think, some people go, well, they get a little weirded out about it, thinking, well, that doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, I'm not saying me personally, but other people will say, well, that doesn't make much sense to me because, why would we just be, dropped, from another planet into this atmosphere? But if you look at it, it's kind of a Goldilocks situation. There's no other planet in the universe that looks much like Mars other than Earth.
Yeah, we were just right.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and two, like if your planet is dying and they know their planet is dying, they've got to get off that planet somehow. So they're not really looking at, they'll make some exceptions.
Yeah.
To populate where the species can live on.
Yeah, exactly.
And that could be why they're coming to visit us all the time, just checking on us. Like, how you guys doing? Just checking in.
Exactly. Okay, so let's take our break right here. When we come back, we're going to tell you a little story that we actually told yesterday on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. There are cults out there, folks, and some of them even serve Thai food. We'll tell you about that when we come back. Also, it turns out Paul McCartney doesn't believe in ghosts. We'll go down that road with you as well. And much, much more. And also, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, believes that Gracie Mansion is haunted. We'll go down that road as well. We've got ghosts coming up. We've got cults coming up. And we even have, I believe it's a Batman coming up in Chicago. So much, much more coming up here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio on a Supernatural News Wednesday. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm Tim Dennis. That's Beer City Bruiser right over there. And we have got, before we get into some stories here, Bruiser, we do have Parashare. I want to remind people, you can send us your notes at tim@darknessradio.com. We want to read your stories here on the air, your true paranormal experiences. We read some stories last week. People are giving us some really good responses to the stories we read last week. Awesome. We want to hear your stories, though. That's what we want to hear. Kevin actually got a hold of us during the week and said the phone number, for some reason or another, was not working. He tried to leave a voicemail, and for some reason he was having an issue with it. So we're gonna get a new voicemail number for you.
Okay.
And that will happen next week. We do have a Parashare here from, I believe I can say her name is Jenny. She said, just don't say my email. We would never say your email on here.
No, that's for our eyes and ears only.
Yeah. So we'll say this is from Jenny. So we were talking about doppelgangers last week.
I remember that.
Yeah. And Jenny says, I was listening today and I heard some doppelganger stories, prompting me to call in. She says, oh, the line's busy. Anyway, sorry that the line was busy. I don't know what's going on with it, that the line was busy.
I don't know. I'm glad she still reached out through email, though, because I love doppelganger stories.
Yeah, absolutely. She said, I received a phone call the other day from an old boyfriend. We had dated off and on from, is this from 23 to 28 years old.
Okay.
She says, we were both married, and having both married our spouses in 2008, coincidentally, we don't talk often, but we have a friendship consisting of checking in periodically and talking current events and family stuff, usually once to twice a year. Mr. X called the other day in a panic. He was in his driveway puttering with his car and saw me walking a dog down the street. We both live in the burbs, but miles upon miles away from each other. My dog would not make it on a walk across state lines. Anyway, he said he had made it a point to get a closer look at the woman as she walked her dog. He went to the road as they approached to say hello and meet the dog. They chatted as he pet and played with the dog. Mr. X said her voice was the same. The intonations and inflection of certain words were the same as mine. She was wearing classic jeans and a t-shirt, and he swore it was me from 1998 to 99. She was friendly and funny. Her laugh was my laugh. A few minutes of small talk, and they said goodbye. Naturally, he assumed I had died and called immediately after she left to see if he had just spoken to my ghost. I'm not sure if I died. If I had died, that his house would have been my first stop. I don't blame you, Jenny.
Yeah, I don't blame you either.
However, I was flattered and a little freaked out. He was never a paranormal fan, and it was way out of his character for him to call and be so convinced that he had seen a past version of me. I didn't own a dog in 1998 and 99, but I did do a lot of dog sitting and dog walking. Mr. X and I talked and reminisced some more, but could come up with zero explanation. He calls and texts whenever without issue, so it was definitely not a fabrication or excuse to call. Why the hell is 1998 Jenny stalking her old boyfriend? Here she says, hold on to your seat, kids. She says, it was great dick that transcended time.
That is a fantastic classic line right now.
I think that's the premise for a movie.
That is.
And not an adult movie either. It was just great dick that transcended time. I can hear the announcer now. It was great dick that transcended time.
That's a new pickup line for men.
Yeah, it's a Kevin Costner and Jennifer Lopez movie. I can see it now.
That I can see a guy in a bar walking up going, "Hey, lady, you want some great dick that descends time?"
Not descends, transcends time.
Transcends.
Yeah,
transcends,
you don't want to descend time because then you're just fucking the shit out of her till she dies. You just walk up and say, "Hey, baby, want some great dick that transcends time?"
Thank you, Jenny, for adding that to my vocabulary.
Yeah, that's a line.
My wife's gonna hate that.
Yep, that's a line that will live forever.
Yep.
She says, probably not. I do think he and I would have married if I didn't have my head so far up my ass back then. Maybe it was a doppelganger of regret. That's another great line.
Yes.
You are. Here we go. Chef's kiss. These are great lines.
Yeah.
The doppelganger of regret is like an album title.
It is. It is 100% an album title.
Yeah, it's like a great metal. It's a great metal album title. Doppelganger of regret.
I think it's breakup songs.
You think so?
Doppelganger of regret should be nothing but like breakup songs.
I think you're right. She says, Jesus, that's just sad. Let's stick with the transcendental dick. That's another great, another great metal song, Transcendental Dick. Although it could be it could be a great gimmick for a wrestler.
Transcendental dick.
Yeah. Although, do you think Dalton Castle will put that on the front of his trunks?
You know what? I'll text him and I'll ask him.
Yeah.
I don't think he will, but I'll ask him.
Transcendental dick.
I think he'll use the doppelganger one before he uses that one.
Probably. She says, seriously though, thoughts? I've had weird things happen my entire life, but Mr. X was never involved in any of them. He's so normal. I will call in another story in the future. If that line is live, don't say my email, please, and thanks. We won't, Jenny. We would never say your email. Yeah. Jenny, wow. You've inspired us to new levels of naughtiness. That is an amazing story. Well, let's give you our thoughts, shall we? In your X-rated Parashare, Uh, huh.
I have a question that when he was speaking to the doppelganger,
Yeah.
did the doppelganger, one, know who he was? You know, and two, did they have a conversation like nothing had happened since 1998?
That's a good question.
You know what I mean? Like,
did time stand still?
Exactly. Was the doppelganger stuck in 98, or did they discuss modern things? Because she said they call one another, text one another, check up, and see how life's going. So did this doppelganger know about the checkups?
That's true.
I love the story. Thank you. I mean, that's But I'm curious as to why 1998 Jenny and why Mr. X.
Jenny, here's what I think. Although you say, there's a certain hankering and a calling every once in a while for Mr. X with that transcendental dick.
His wife must be really pleased.
Boy, I'll say she's probably hanging from the ceiling from time to time.
She's got some of those Mars quakes going on.
She does. She's got the Mars quake syndrome. I think that maybe as much as you get a hankering, he might get a little itch from time to time too. And I do believe that it's more than just a sexual chemistry. I think that there's a little bit of a twin flame thing maybe going on here. And every once in a while, that energy does reach out, and it can create a doppelganger, or it can create a wannabe shared physical calling. In other words, and follow me here, Bruiser. So if I have my true twin flame out there, and I haven't seen this person in a while, but I do check up on them every once in a while, maybe I crave their physical being so much that I do see them in strange places.
Okay.
In other words,
because you're putting that energy out there.
Right. So in other words, I create my own tulpa, but it's a living tulpa.
Okay.
And it's a living tulpa that I can interact with. So yeah, you never owned a dog, but it doesn't mean that tulpa doesn't own a dog.
True.
And maybe it's just a tulpa that's here and gone, or a doppelganger that's here and gone.
Could it be too that the dog was residual energy? Just there was so much energy that after it created the doppelganger, there's still energy left over.
Well,
and what's a normal thing for a person to be doing on a street but walking a dog?
Right. Keep in mind, he has to create something from his heart's desire to manifest, to give him an excuse to see you. Yeah. So, he
walking a dog is a common thing in the suburbs. She said they both live in the burbs.
Yep.
So just now someone walked past my house walking a dog. That's not, you see a person walking the dog, it's not out of the ordinary.
And you even stated you're both married. So he has to see you in a guilt-free area. Texting and telephoning is a guilt-free area. Walking a dog in the middle of a public area is a guilt-free area to see you and just be able to talk to you and see you again.
Yeah, how many times have you been in a grocery store and you bump into a friend that you haven't seen in years?
Yeah.
And there's no ill intent there. It's just, oh, hey, how have you been for X amount of years? And same with, you see someone walking their dog and you haven't seen him in so long. Of course he said he was working on his car, so he's going to put his tools down and walk up and go, oh, Jenny, I haven't seen you in X amount of years. We talked last week, but hey, it's good to see you.
And to see you in 1998-99 is to see you, and forgive me for this statement, but is to see you at the ultimate in your sexual prowess. It's to see you at the time where he found you the most attractive, where he craved you the most. So that could just be literally him creating a tulpa from his heart's desire.
That's a great theory. I can get behind that.
And literally, so did he.
It transcended time. But that brings up the theory, too. Like when you hear someone having a loved one passed away and come and visit them, it's not the loved one as they were when they passed away. It's a loved one how you remember them at their best.
Right.
Or a younger version or a different version. So that makes complete sense that he subconsciously is craving something that she fulfilled back in 98.
Yep.
And like you said, it's a guilt-free because in 98 he was with her. They weren't married to anybody else. They were together. And so it's a guilt-free, non-sexual connection.
Exactly.
That he's creating. I mean, it might be the sexual feelings that are creating it, but it's in a situation where he can, tell his wife, oh, I saw Jenny walking her dog. I went up, said hi, caught up with her.
Yep.
There's no way the wife's going to be like, oh, because they're not meeting at a hotel. They're not meeting, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's very harmless. I can get behind that theory, Tim.
He gets his cake, he eats it too.
Yep.
And he doesn't feel guilty for seeing what he saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, Jenny, that's exactly what happened.
I
that's
did
what he
like,
saw.
And Jenny, you need to realize this too. His first instinct was to call to make sure she was okay.
Yeah.
That shows a good friend.
Well, not only that, but it also gives his subconscious gives his conscious mind a reason to reach out and contact her and talk to her.
Correct.
So he does get the real life reason to reach out and call and talk.
Especially in a non-guilty way, because now he's just checking to see if she's okay.
See?
Oh.
See how the subconscious mind actually connects with the conscious mind and makes fantasy reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's ways that our mind can actually play tricks on us in a good way.
It's amazing how, for it being a subconscious, it's amazing how it affects our conscious being as much as it does. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that just, I'm fascinated by the subconscious because you have that gut feeling about something. Well, that's your subconscious telling you something. Or in this instance, like you said, his subconscious was yearning for something, but it didn't want to create that guilty feeling within him. So it created this doppelganger, what you call a doppelganger of regret of 98 Jenny, and then his conscious mind was like, oh, I should reach out to her to make sure she's okay because this was so weird.
And people don't realize, but love really is the strongest emotion in the universe. It isn't anger. It isn't hate. Hate is a short-fueled emotion. It's intense, but it dies.
Mm-hmm. Love doesn't.
Love doesn't. It remains strong.
Love evolves is what I always tell people. Mm-hmm. Because, yes, I believe in love at first sight. It happens. But love also evolves. You always hear people, oh, we broke up because I fell out of love with him. Well, no. Your love evolved. You don't see that person in a romantic ability anymore, and that's why you're not with them. But you still care about that person. You still don't want harm to come to that person, so you still love them. Mm-hmm. It's not that romantic love.
Well, and even so, I mean, you may break up with somebody because of a fight, because anger supplants love.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean that the feeling changed. It just means that life got in the way. And you may move on to somebody who you think you have that same feeling for. But then you look back at it years later and you go, wait a minute, when I look at their picture, or I think about them, you know what, that feeling is still there.
Yep.
And I think Jenny...
Not that you want to act on it because you're probably in a place in your life that you do love somebody else. And that's the love. Yep. Exactly. And like I said, love is evolutionary because you love, you love your parents, you love your children, but you don't love them the same way you love a spouse.
Right. Exactly. You
love your cat and your dog.
There's a deeper love for that spouse, but there's that flame that burns for that other person. You just know that it's not convenient to act on it.
Right.
Yeah. And there's with Mr. X, I have a feeling, and you conveniently put it in different ways, Jenny. But I think if circumstances were different between you and Mr. X, I think both of you would sit there and you wouldn't mince words. I think you'd both say, hey, you know what? If things were different, we'd probably be together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do it in a heartbeat.
Yep. Life just got in the way, and they went different paths, and he found someone, she found someone, and they moved on.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, and you hear about it all the time too, about how you hear about a couple that dated in their teens and then life gets in the way, whether it be military service, college, whatever. They go, they have the family, they have the children, and then that spouse passes away. And then years later, they connect on a cruise, and it reignites that spark. Mm-hmm. And they both lived a life, but now they're both widow and widower, and they get back together again. Mm-hmm. And it's like you're saying that the love doesn't go away. It just it evolved. They broke up not because of something terrible. They broke up because life got in the way. So their love evolved.
Yep. Well, thank you, Jenny. We appreciate that. And again, folks, if you have an experience, a supernatural paranormal experience, or anything you want to share with us, tim@darknessradio.com. We'll get a new number up for you, so you can call in and actually give us your experiences. And call them in and tell us your stories yourself.
And if you can give us more catchphrases like Jenny did, please do that. I am now. My wife is going to. My wife. Thank God we didn't give Jenny's email out, because I'm going to walk up to my wife and go, "Hey, you want a dick that transcends time, huh?"
And she'll go, "Who are you fooling?"
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I have no idea.
My doppelganger of regret.
She'll go, "Who did you meet?" No, I'm kidding. No, it's it's yeah. I mean, that was quite colorful, Jenny. By all means, if you can string a yarn together like Jenny can, we want stuff from you every week. Speaking of stringing it together, are you a big fan of Thai food?
I came up after you read the story, because I had to, after we covered this, I had to go and tell my wife, because she's a big cult fan. And
you mean the band or an actual?
Yes. But she had used the term that my father-in-law coined years ago that I completely forgot about. And I'm glad we're covering it again today, because I want to bring this term to you, Tim, because it's going to be in your vocabulary now. Just like the doppelganger of regret and the dick that transcends time, this one's going to be part of your vocabulary. And it's thank you to my father-in-law who passed away in 2013, but we're making his phrase live on in 2022. So I will let you know what it was.
You're going to let me know after I read?
Oh, yeah, because we have the fans who are new to this, who haven't heard the story yet.
All right.
Have to hear what this cult did.
Buckle yourselves in, folks. Fast food will never be the same after this story.
Especially Thai food.
Yeah, especially Thai food. We go to Thailand, where, of course, Thai food originates, so to speak. Turns out the leader of a feces-eating cult is arrested after 11 bodies are discovered during a raid. Bruiser?
And yes, you heard that right, fans. It was a feces-eating cult.
Yeah, not feces after eating, feces eating cult. Thai police raided the compound of a suspected cult leader in a Chayaphum province last week. Discovering at least 11 bodies during the search. Local authorities were able to raid the compound after the group allegedly violated land encroachment laws and broke COVID-19 restriction laws.
So wait, eating feces is against COVID-19 restrictions?
No, not at all.
I'm within I'm 6 feet away. They're just tossing it to me.
Oh, we call it a brownie batch pitch.
Or as my father-in-law put it, here we go. Mm-hmm. It's very shitstress, not citrus. Shitstress.
Yeah. It's a different way to get your fruits and vegetables.
It is.
Yeah. Some people juice. We do the poop press.
we make it shitstress.
Yeah. Law enforcement had already been made aware of the group after allegations were shared that the community had been consuming the bodily fluids of its leader. Yeah.
Take me to your leader.
Are you sure? Are you hungry?
Are you hungry? We only have two choices. There's a number 1 and a number 2 on the combo meal.
Which combo meal you want, the 1 or the 2?
After police,
one is you're in and one is shit stress. So it's up to you.
After police made their way onto the campgrounds, police then discovered the remains of 11 bodies in coffins. Oh, it keeps getting better, Bruiser. It keeps getting better. However, the group was only able to provide death certificates belonging to 5 of the 11 of the deceased.
And like I said yesterday, they're just waiting for one more to drop because it's a buy one, get one free on death certificates.
Police have ordered autopsies to be conducted to establish the causes of deaths of the bodies. Oh, I don't know. Maybe eating shit? That might have been one.
They literally ate shit and died.
Yes, they did. People have been telling people that for, I don't know, decades, and now finally it's happened.
That cult leader's like, I want you to eat my shit and die. And they did.
Oh, my God. The suspected leader of the group has been detained for questioning, but before the arrest of many of his followers, oh, God, I can't even read the line, Bruiser. But before the arrest, many of his followers attempted to stop police from arresting the elderly man during the raid. Probably because you're cutting off their food supply.
Yeah, like, wait, we need that shit.
We need that shit. We got to put some of that shit in the freezer. Yeah. The strange group was known in the area to conduct themselves in a religious-like manner, where devotees of the Father, as they called him, Tawai Nanra, who was 75 years old. Oh, so you know that shit was smooth.
So it's old shit. It's old, smooth shit.
Yep. Would do almost anything for the man. Some say he would force...
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
They would do almost anything. What are they leaving behind? You're eating his shit. Like, what are you... I want to know what their limit is of, whoa, Father, that's too much to ask of us.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I could do that. Yeah.
I'll eat your shit, but I don't know about grabbing your mail.
Yeah. I won't go walk your dog, but everything else I'll do.
But I'll sit under you so you can shit in my mouth.
Some say he would force his followers to drink his urine, eat his feces, and consume dirt in order to heal physical illnesses.
Tim, I hear you're coughing a little bit. Let me mail you my shit. It'll help you out. Hey, there's your Charco foot cure. Just go up to the cherry and be like, hey.
Just pop a squat over my face. Cult-like groups are not uncommon in Thailand. No shit.
No.
Well, actually, there's quite a bit. In 2019, a rape cult on Koh Phangan was revealed, where female students say they were promised spiritual practice only to be coerced into sex or raped by its founder. My God. Last year, an elderly monk decapitated himself with a homemade device in an attempt to reincarnate as a higher being.
And now he lost all his followers.
Well, yeah.
He's going to do it. Shunk. Okay. And, he's not getting up. Okay, well, I guess we're done here.
Well, now our job is done.
Anybody know any other cults? I know one where you can eat shit and die.
And die. His followers helped him build the contraption and helped him commit suicide. There's a crime in progress.
Yep.
More widely known as the Dhammakaya group, a massively rich Buddhist sect that critics and former followers call a cult. Well, really. The incident has quickly gone viral on social media, with netizens sharing their disgust against the cult's practices of consuming human waste. The Thai language hashtag, which is #father, saw over 141,000 mentions as of last Monday's afternoon. A snippet from television shows a woman who appears to be a member of the cult saying that she did not detect any unpleasant odor while consuming the human waste.
Because that's the first thing you should think of.
Oh.
It doesn't smell bad. I guess I'll put it in my mouth.
She says there isn't even an odor. Only those with a tainted mind may smell it. Oh, come on. Really?
So if you have shitty thinking, you smell shit.
That's a great slogan as well. It's probably on their cult t-shirts. One Twitter user pointed out that the one who exposed the cult was Moore Plah, a celebrity volunteer who has helped uncover suspicious religious cases rather than local authorities. It was supposed to be the police that raided this cult in the first place, isn't it? One Twitter user questioned. Several tweets described what happened as a failure of Thailand's education system, notably in the area of hygiene. I can't bear the thought of more than half of the country being like this, another Twitter user wrote. Thai Inquirer attempted to reach local police in Chaiyaphum for comment, but they did not respond by the time of publishing.
It brings a whole new plot line to Human Centipede, doesn't it?
Oh, God. Oh my.
Well, you have some movies that are Scientology movies. This Human Centipede just happened to be this cult's movie.
Oh, my God, my God. Oh. Well, let's cleanse the palate a little, shall we?
Let's, please.
How do you... What wine goes with a good shit, by the way? I've never learned the wine pairings.
A white wine.
Is it a white wine with the... And by the way, when you eat shit in Thailand, do you order it with peanuts or without? I've never
That's
quite...
a spicy feces.
That's a spicy feces. Let's move on, shall we? Let's go to New York, where when they eat shit in New York, it just means you're a Mets fan. I couldn't resist.
I'm a Brewers fan, so that's okay.
That's okay? That joke works for you?
That works perfect.
Okay.
I know a couple of people I can say that to and they'll be upset.
Yeah, that's
which I
true.
probably will when we get off here. I'm going to text them.
When you eat shit in New York, you're a Mets fan.
I'm going to send them the article, The Cult, and go, are these Mets fans? Because you guys are used to eating shit and liking it.
Look at, they're wearing hats. They're wearing Mets hats. We go to Gracie Mansion, where Mayor Adams says there's ghosts in there. You know, it's been debated over the years whether there's ghosts in there or not. And, different mayors have stayed there over the years, and certain mayors just decide that they're going to live off campus, so to speak. Club-going Mayor Eric Adams, which, by the way, Chris Redd does an amazing impression of on Saturday Night Live, if you haven't seen it.
Why do they call him club-going mayor? Like, is that his thing?
He's got swag. He'll tell you himself.
Really?
Yeah, he says it in his press conferences. He's got swag. He's the mayor with swag.
Okay.
Club-going Mayor Eric Adams is a man who likes to boogie, it says here, but now he also appears to believe in the boogeyman. Oh, it's a clever line. Look at that.
Look at that. You know that author wrote that line and right away sat back, put their hands on their head and went, yep. Just did it again.
Yep, my job here is done. Adams turned his attention from the Bronx bombers to the Manhattan booers. Oh, my God. As he broke news in the Yankees press box during Tuesday's game, Gracie Mansion is haunted. He says, I don't care what anyone says. There are ghosts in there, man.
What a weird place to break the news.
Yeah, on a Yankees broadcast.
All right, we have 2-2. There's the pitch, and it's a ball. And by the way, Gracie Manor is haunted.
Yeah. By the way, Gracie Mansion, don't go in there, man. Yankees announcers Michael Kay and Cameron Maben, who invited him into the booth after the mayor tossed out the first pitch, went and told both announcers this. Adams laughed while confirming he sees stuff moving around and hears footsteps in the stately 233-year-old country house that became the official mayor's residence in 1942. He said, listen, they're creeping around. It's a very nice house, by the way. If the mansion is haunted, that would be news to historians, ghost hunters, and former employees who told the Post they aren't familiar with stories of spirits, hauntings, or undead people lurking around the people's house. Absolutely not. I've never heard of such idiocy, said Anna Maria Santarelli, who works as a chef. She's a chief as well, but she's a chef and event manager at the mansion under mayors David Dinkins, Rudy Giuliani, and Michael Bloomberg.
She's been there a while.
Yeah, she has been there a while. Santarelli, who sometimes pulled 19-hour shifts feeding the mayor and guests, told the Post she's never heard one story of a bump in the night during her many years there. Adams is not the first inhabitant of the house to mention ghosts, though. Former First Lady Shirlane McRae said during a Halloween interview in 2017 that she'd witnessed some unusual activities. saying that there are times when doors open and close by themselves and the floorboards creak as though someone is walking through the rooms. At least one person is known to have died at Gracie Mansion. Elizabeth Wolcott Gracie, daughter-in-law of the merchant who constructed the house, died from apoplexy in 1819. But one death at an address is actually quite low for New York City's many layered history, according to historians. Anytime there's a well-known location in a city, especially one that was built before 1880, there's naturally going to be speculation. Oh, it's totally got to be haunted, right? Professor Mortimer, a real name Robert Gagnon, co-founder of the Haunted Manhattan Tour Company, told the Post, the New York Post, which I'm reading from. He consulted one of his history books and found only a brief mention of Gracie Mansion, but no specifics. The building, one of the oldest wood structures in Manhattan, has a general aura of spookiness to at least some visitors. The place did straight up give me the creeps, Andrew Fine, vice president of the East 86th Street Association, an area that abuts the mansion, told the Post. It was really just old and dated. I could see how somebody staying in that house would feel that way. He only toured the building once, but said if he were mayor, he would be burning a boat ton of sage before I moved into that joint.
How much sage, Tim? How much?
A boatload. A boat ton, he says, actually, of sage. It's more than a boatload. It's a boat ton.
A boat ton?
That's a big boat. That's like the boat. Staten Island ferry full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big boat.
Lance Zoll, founder of the New York City Ghost Tours, confirmed that the mayor's house is not on any list of known haunted places in the city. For a real chance at seeing ghosts, including that of Mark Twain, he recommended Hisner visit the famous House of Death in the West Village. That's more like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to a mansion when you can go to a house of death.
That's right. Adams has been accused of being a ghost in his own city before the election after reports suggested that he actually lives in New Jersey instead of his sparsely decorated Brooklyn address. There's an allure where a lot of people see there's an old house and they can connect a lot of people work there, Zoll said. Hauntings, in a way, can help connect people to the past and help make history more relatable in a way that's entertaining. While Adams is often preoccupied with things that aren't real, his obsession with mythical people barbecuing on the subways, for one, ghost hunters are willing to investigate his claim. We've never lived there and we've never gone ghost hunting there, so we can't tell, Mortimer said. If Eric Adams would like to submit a statement and help us start an uptown tour, we would gladly sit down for an interview.
Can you imagine the red tape they'd have to go through to investigate that house, though?
Well, if Eric Adams gives us a permission and lets him freely go about it, I can't imagine there'd be too much red tape. There's just got to be some...
Yeah, but he technically doesn't own it. The city owns it.
Yeah, the city owns it, but, I mean, the mayor can cut a lot of red tape by just saying, go ahead, and then sign a waiver.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd probably have to sign NDAs.
Yeah. But if he just says, you know what, have at it. I mean, there's got to be some... there's got to be some things in there that just he can go on and do it. They can go on and do their thing. Yeah.
Gets in there. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. It's a matter of do they let them do it?
I hope they do.
Yeah.
Because you have so few people claiming experiences. It'd be nice to see a team to go in and professionally do it, and we didn't catch anything, or go in and we caught this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I honestly think that I tend to agree with most of the people who say they've never seen anything there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much of anything there. I think Eric Adams is probably. A lot of times when you have a state house like that you're required to stay at,
yeah, I
think some people are comfortable with doing that, and other people kind of get the heebie-jeebies about it because it is so old. Yeah. I think Eric Adams is Eric Adams is a guy with swag. He's probably got a nice house in New Jersey, and he probably doesn't want to. He doesn't.
The house creaks and stuff. And
yeah, and he's probably not comfortable there. So he says, you know what? I'm good. I don't need it, you know?
And saying stuff moves on its own could be, well, you have a lot of staff, you know, because there's...
Well, and if you've
and they could have moved it.
You've probably lived in an older house before, and you know stuff creaks and moves, and especially a house that predates 1880, stuff moves. It's just all there is to it.
Yeah.
So you know he's probably hemming and hawing and not wanting to stay in a place that's old. I mean, people get creeped out by old places, and that's probably all it is. So he's just over exaggerating so he can say, you know what, I'm going to stay in New Jersey, even though I'm the governor in New York. I got a nice pad over here. Yep. It's got swag. You know, you don't necessarily have to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all that is.
He's not letting the team go in there then.
No, he's not. He's not going to have anybody investigate it because there's nothing there. There's nothing there. This next story, Bruiser, I got a different theme song for, if you will. Let's see. But you know what? I don't think that for some reason I'm having the same issue with my sound system that I did last week, and I can't tell you
with the UFOs. Or the black holes. I'm sorry, the black holes.
Yeah. It's for some reason this thing doesn't want to play, so I just think I'm going to skip it. I was going to play the Walking Dead theme underneath because, for once, there may be something to this zombie thing.
Really?
I might admit it. Yeah. I'll give you this.
That's big for you admitting it.
It is, but only because of what's in this story, and that there's a little bit of science behind this.
Okay.
Tiny bit of science.
I don't think I've ever seen you even acknowledge it's possible for zombies.
It's all a bunch of bullshit, really.
I know that's since day one I've met you. You've been that way.
Yeah.
So to hear you go, maybe.
But there's a little hint of truth in this story. So I'll give you a little hint of truth, and here's why.
Okay.
Scientists have quote unquote reversed death in astonishing feat by bringing dead eyes back to life.
Oh, okay.
Here's why it kind of makes me scratch my head a little. Okay.
So these are technically zombie eyes.
Well, technically. That's why I throw the technically in there. Eyes taken from an organ donor 5 hours after death responded to light with electrical activity only previously seen in the living.
Yeah, but do we know how long the eyes survive after death? Like, that's the question. We don't know that.
Well, technically, it's dead tissue.
Yeah. So they are reanimating it then, is what you're saying.
Supposedly. The authors of the study said the discovery raises the question of whether brain death, as it is currently defined, is truly irreversible. Brain death is when someone is no longer able to survive without life support and are unable to breathe on their own. It is considered irreversible, and therefore a person is declared as dead. The science demonstrated by the team could be used to study other tissues in the central nervous system, like the brain or spine. Lead author Dr. Fatima Abbas of the Moran Eye Center at the University of Utah said, we were able to wake up photoreceptor cells in the human macula, which is part of the retina responsible for our central vision and our ability to see fine detail and color. In eyes obtained up to 5 hours after an organ donor's death, these cells responded to bright light, colored lights, and even dim flashes of light. A body of controversial science has been looking at how to reverse this neuron activity and breathe life into the organs of those who have died. This study, published in the journal Nature, follows Yale University sparking life into brains of dead pigs in 2019. Scientists were able to switch on the blood circulation of the huge organs 4 hours after the pigs have been slaughtered. But what they are not able to do, whereas those from the University of Utah have, is create communication between neurons. Initially, the research team were able to revive light-sensing neurons or photoreceptors in the eye. But the cells were not in communication with other cells in the retina, the tissue behind the eyes that collect light and sends imaging to the brain. They discovered that lack of oxygen was to blame. And so Dr. Franz Winberg, an assistant professor of ophthalmology and visual sciences, found a way to restore oxygenation back into the organ donor eyes with exciting findings. The team saw electrical signals that are only in living eyes called the B wave. It's the first B wave recording made in the eyes of those deceased. Dr. Franz Winberg, an assistant professor of ophthalmology and visual sciences, said, we were able to make the retinal cells talk to each other the way they do in the living eye. Past studies have restored very limited electrical activity in organ donor eyes, but this has never been achieved in the macula, and never to the extent that we have now demonstrated. Dr. Winberg said the scientific community can now study human vision in ways that just aren't possible with laboratory animals. Professor Ann Hannikin, Scripps Research Associate, said, until now, it hasn't been possible to get the cells in all the different layers of the central retina to communicate with each other the way that they normally do in a living retina. Going forward, we may be able to use this approach to develop treatments to improve vision and light signaling in eyes with macular diseases, such as age-related macular degeneration. Interesting.
It's very interesting. I get worried when they start playing with stuff like that, because I get what they want to do. Because like you just said, you can help with the degeneration and stuff, but how far do they go? Are they looking for immortality? Which I'm sure they are, but there's also the bad side effects. Are we looking at then if this progresses to a zombie apocalypse, you know?
As far as the eye goes, hey, I'm all for it, because I, my friend, am getting monthly shots right in the eye.
I was going to say, you want to stop those shots, huh?
Yeah, I'd like to stop those shots at one time or another based on...
So you'd be willing to put a zombie eye in?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'd do that. I mean, if we could stop the monthly pain of shots, that would... And I'm not one to generally complain. I don't do that. Yeah. It's not my bag. I'm not one to bitch and complain and cry every time I get a cold, but these shots are monthly, and I've described it before on the show, and I don't like to go over it over and over again. But
I've seen the pictures you've sent me after you've gotten them, and
they're fun. I basically have half a red eyeball right now, because I described it online. Those of you who follow me on social media. So the doctor this last time was filling in for my normal doctor, and I normally get the numbing drops, which are good enough for me.
Yeah.
But my doctor had to go home for some reason, so I got a fill-in doctor. The fill-in doctor, as I'm sitting in the chair, comes up to me, and I've been getting, you get drops to wash out your eye, you get drops to dilate your pupils, you get drops upon drops upon drops, and they come in and they make sure the eye is well washed out and everything. And then they give you like a dye stain and all this other stuff, because they test your pressure, and then they take pictures of the retina to show you how the swelling has gone down in the retina and everything. And essentially 15 years ago, I had what's called a retinal vein occlusion, which was a blockage in the retinal vein. And I've had complications with the retina ever since. So now essentially I have a condition where blood enters the retina but doesn't want to flow out. So I've got a blood flow issue with the retina. So somewhere down the line, I'll have to have laser surgery to open up the capillaries in and around the retina to get it to flow evenly again. So basically my retina is stopped up. And I need a roto-rooter man. So that's the way I look at it there. So the doc comes in and he's got a needle in his hand, and I go, okay, it's time for the shot. No big deal. It's just, and we're done. Right. Yep. So I look at him and I go, oh, it's time for the shot. And he goes, no, this is just the anesthetic.
Oh.
And I look at him and I go, I'm a brittle type 2 diabetic, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, so we're doing 2 needles today? Now, I'm not concerned about the pain. I'm used to the pain, right? Now, the pain lasts about 4 to 5 days, okay? Because you lose pressure in the eye, and that's what causes the pain. It's not the actual stick of the needle. The stick of the needle kind of feels like you have something in your eye for a couple of days. the one thing I was worried about was I said, did you clear the needle? In other words, did you get the air out of the needle?
Yeah.
Because my regular doctor doesn't get all the air out of the needle. So you see like a black bubble in your vision for like 3 or 4 days. And it's weird.
You did that last time. You're like, oh, hey, look, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Like
there
a
it
level.
is. It looks like a level. Yeah. But it runs around in your eyeball like, like when you have like a magic 8 ball.
Yep.
Yeah, so it runs around in there, and it kind of pisses you off, is what it does, because you keep trying to pop it with your finger.
Yeah.
So I said, did you clear the air out of the needle? He goes, yeah. So I said, okay. So he gives me the shot of the anesthetic, and then he gives me the shot of the medicine, which is like, they've described it to me like a chemotherapy shot is how they've described it to me. So I said, okay. So then he gives me the medicine. So I took 2 needles that day. Well, yeah. So then I asked him for a medicated patch.
Yeah.
Because whenever you get the medicated patch, which is what I took the picture of after I got out of the procedure, because it just looks horrific, which is kind of funny. But it feels so good because you don't feel. You don't feel the scratchiness for like 24 hours, and it just, it
gives you some relief for a short period of time, which if anybody out there that's in pain, like just a little bit of relief is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had the medicated patch on, and I noticed too, and the other thing is when they don't give you the patch, your eye waters constantly, and it stings if you don't have that medicated patch on.
Yeah.
So it's like somebody took a stick and shoved it in your eye over and over and over again if you don't get that medicated patch. So I asked for the medicated patch, and the other thing is that your vision, it goes white, it goes cloudy, and you can't see anything out of it. So it bugs the shit out of you.
Oh God, I can't imagine.
So I just asked for the patch, and I just didn't want to see anything out of it. But I didn't want the hassle.
That's got to screw with your depth perception and everything.
Well, when you put the patch on, it does.
Even seeing the white doesn't mess it?
Well, yeah, seeing the white does, but putting the patch on really screws with your depth perception. Yeah,
because now you're one-eyed basically.
Yeah, but that's fine. I don't mind that. I'd rather have the.
Why does that man keep walking into a wall? Don't worry. About it.
Try riding a knee caddy with one eye. It's pretty fun. And then having your pupils dilated on top of it. Yeah.
Ouch. Yes. Okay.
And they don't give you the sunglasses inserts anymore.
No, I remember when I went in for an eye check.
Yeah.
It'd been years, and they dilated my eyes. And I'm like, okay, give me the cool sunglasses. We're like, no, we don't do that anymore.
No, it costs too much.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't give them to you anymore. So, and my uncle took me to my appointment. So, so he's looking at me because he's looking at him like, you're going to shove 2 needles in his eye, and then
and you're all like, let's do this. Come on.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. All right, let's go. But then trying to pedal out of there and have the eye patch over, and he's just looking at me like, boy, you are a sorry son of a bitch.
I just picture you going, boom, sorry. Boom,
yeah.
Sorry.
And then I'm running into people in elevators, and but no, he did pull the truck around, which was nice of him. But yeah, so I had the medicated patch on, and I'm trying to remember where I was going with the story. Where was I going with the story, Bruiser? I don't know. I'm getting old. I'm rambling on. Anyway, so I forget where I was going with this story. I was just complaining. But we were going somewhere with the story. Where were we going? Nah, it doesn't matter.
Something about zombie eyes.
Zombie eyes. Yes.
Zombie eye.
So we were talking about retinas.
Yeah.
So when I read the story about the retina and actually having to do a zombie eye, you were asking me, would I do a zombie eye?
Yeah.
Yes, if I could eliminate this procedure, because this procedure goes for a year.
Yeah. Now, would that be considered a zombie eye? Because when I had my left ACL done and my left tricep, they used cadaver tendons. Technically, isn't that zombie tendons? Or no, because they're not reanimated before they put them in me?
Well, yeah, it's a cadaver.
Isn't it kind of
so
the
yeah,
same thing?
It's
You know
a
what I
zombie,
mean?
but you have to have somewhat of a. In this case, what they're talking about, this would still be a live retina. It would have to be a live retina. Now, keep in mind the way they do the surgery now. When you detach a retina, they reattach your retina.
Right.
They tell you to look for like what looks like a curtain falling over your vision. When that happens, your retina is detaching, and they have to get you in right away to reattach. Thank God that hasn't happened with me. Mine's swollen, and they give you the shot to bring down the swelling.
I've been on an underwater needlepoint show where I watched a man get his retina detached, and he said the same thing. It's like the end of a movie where the curtain's coming down. He said,
Yeah,
is what he saw.
Yep.
And they rushed him to the hospital and basically performed emergency surgery on him.
Yep. That's exactly what happens.
They fractured his orbital bone and detached his retina.
Yep.
So they had to, not a steel plate, but something in the cheek and reattach it. Yeah.
So yeah, and her grandmother, God bless her, she had a detached retina, and they weren't able to save the retina. So she went around basically for the rest of her life with one eye, and she had detached her retina. She worked for Medtronic, and she worked under a microscope all the time building pacemakers.
Okay.
And so hers detached just from use.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Scary.
yeah. So, to think that there would be, that we could advance to the point where you could take basically what would be a fresh retina.
Yeah. And reattach it to the dead retina.
Yeah. And that would be a miracle. That would be something that I think a lot of people, and to think of it this way, I mean, if you could take someone who had been blind from birth and give them the miracle of sight.
That would be cool to see, because you see those videos of like children that were born deaf and they put the cochlear implants or whatever in their ear.
Yeah.
And them hearing their mother's voice for the first time. Those videos are touching. I can't imagine seeing a blind person that had been blind their whole life and they're literally seeing things for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, if advancement can be made, and I don't know if that's how it works, but I hope they don't go to the route of trying to reanimate the whole body to get. I like it because they're doing it for medical reasons for people in your instance, like you said. It would help in the long run. You could take amputees and reattach limbs. Yep.
But as far as reanimating a whole body, I don't know anybody that wants to live forever. And if you do, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean? I get we're trying to prolong life because you want to extend life as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't agree with reanimating the whole body, but reanimating certain body parts to help people, oh yeah. You can give the lungs to a lung cancer person. You can give the liver to a cirrhosis person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I Queen's got that song "Who Wants to Live Forever." I don't. I want to extend it as long as I can. I don't know about forever, but hell, a couple 100 years, I'll take it.
I will, but I don't want to live forever.
No,
no, no. I've been asked this question before, and I'd be so scared to live forever because there's so many people close. You'd see death constantly around you. Like. There's going to be people that don't choose to live forever, and you're going to have to witness them passing, and
sure.
That's a constant then in a person that lives forever is the constant death, I watched the movies Highlander and Interview the Vampire, any vampire movie, and they always say that's the hardest part is you see people pass away all around you.
True.
So I don't want to live to that.
Very true. I get what you're saying there. Yeah.
And I don't think your legacy starts till you pass away. Because no one's going to walk up to your face right now and say, they might say good things, but I don't think that's a legacy yet. I think a legacy is when you pass on. Then that's when your legacy starts.
But let me throw something at you that's ultimately defeating.
Okay.
And that's this. Of the however many billions of people on this earth at this particular time, there are only going to be a handful that will make a mark in history that will be remembered.
to the world, but not to the people's lives that they touch.
True, but I'm saying to the
Because the
world
legacy
in general.
is, I mean, yeah, that's a different form of legacy, is the, you know. But I still think anytime you make an impression on someone, you're leaving your legacy.
Yeah, you're right. You know,
but you want your children and grandchildren to think of you in a certain way, and that's a legacy. I mean, how many times have you and I shared stories of our grandparents?
true.
That's a legacy.
Very true. Yeah, it is. And there's
Now, did our grandparents invent life-saving treatment? No, but
right.
they did something within our lives. You know, you said yourself, you got into broadcasting because your uncle.
Right.
When he passes away, that's his legacy then.
That's true. That's very true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and there's certain cultures that say you never truly die until your name is stopped being spoken.
Right.
So, you know, the minute your name is stopped being spoken, I know it's not correct English the way I'm saying it. That is when you truly die.
See, and I think if you're an immortal, your name will be brought up because you're constantly still there. So therefore, your legacy is not going on. It's just you living your life. Mm-hmm. Or when you pass away, and then they start talking about you, that's your legacy.
True.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
And we all have different legacies, whether good or bad. We all have different legacies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of us make a huge impact, some of us don't.
Yeah.
And we don't know the impact that we're making either, because you and I are living it right now. So we don't know the impact we're making on people's lives.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
You know,
and we won't. We won't. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I got into professional, you know, the underwater needlepoint because of Bruiser Brody. Like, he has no idea.
You could say wrestling.
You know what I mean? Like, he has no idea. He has no idea the legacy he left behind. Because I'm just one of, I can list 10 people right now off the top of my head that were inspired by him. Yeah. You know, so if he had lived forever, does he leave that same you know, that's just where I'm going with that. But I don't want. I want to prolong my life. I want to live as long as possible.
Yeah.
I want to see my children happy and married and start their own families, and then I want to be a part of the grandbabies and hopefully great grandbabies. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah. But I don't want to live forever. No.
Okay. I hear you. No, you know, and we won't prolong this point much longer, but to me, it's a matter of if you live longer, do you make more of an impact, or are you just prolonging the inevitable? You know, with the shorter, knowing that you're not immortal, do you, you know, do you not waste the time, and do you hurry up and make your impact, or do you just, if you know you have more time, do you, you know, scatter your blows and do it the right way? I don't know. There's two schools of thoughts there. You know.
Yeah. I'm always under the thinking, leave something better than it was before you got there. So, you know, I'm going to do something to try to make whatever it is I'm doing better. So that way when I leave, it's better than it was when I found it. Yeah. That's just the way, that's been my belief in life. I always want to make, you can't obviously please everybody in life. That's just life. Right. If you're trying to live life to please everybody, you're never going to do that. You know, spoiler alert. But if I can do where I make something better or help something continue to be better, then I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I don't think I'll change it if I found out, oh, you're immortal. Okay, well, I'm still going to live my life the way I've been living it, you know. Mm-hmm.
This is kind of
now I got more time.
Kind of an interesting
more things I can do.
Conversation going into our next story, actually. Because we talk about, you know, going in one direction and then changing into a different one. And sometimes for the better. Our next story actually has to do with an office worker who was stalked for a year by a violent spirit, but then found love moonlighting as a ghost hunter and now enjoys paranormal dates. So talk about life changing completely, starting for the worse and then ending up for the better.
Terrorized by this spirit, and now all of a sudden
it's a way of enjoyment with your new significant other. An office worker who was stalked for an entire year by a troubled specter that spied on her and even dragged her down the stairs, faced her fears by moonlighting as a ghost hunter and met the love of her life, who she takes on paranormal dates.
Well, good for them. This is a happy ending.
Yes, it is.
Do you think she goes back to that specter that haunted her and say, thank you for this. You have given me this.
I don't know. Now an experienced investigator of everything from haunted castles to dungeons and tunnels, when 51-year-old Debbie McCall first realized the spirit had attached himself to her in late 2012, she even asked a church to banish him, to no avail. Finding more understanding from a medium who listened to her terrifying tales of being pushed and shoved and advised her to let go of the negative energy that was attracting it, the development coordinator of Portsmouth, Hampshire, over in England, says pursuing her interest in the spirit world helped her regain control of her life. It also led her to her soulmate, which was 38-year-old Emily Cowell, who's a service manager, who she met at a seance in Fort Whitley in 2020, saying she has the same passion for the paranormal as me, and whenever we can, we work together. Our date nights are paranormal investigations instead of dinners. We prefer them, she said, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
She said, I met Emily as Emily was a customer of Ghost to Ghost, which is a paranormal investigations group I founded in 2018, and we love our paranormal date nights. They're unconventional, but they're our passion, and we have as many as we can. She added, going on these investigations has completely changed my life, and I've never been happier. Since Debbie created Ghost to Ghost, she has gone on more than 120 haunting excursions, taking a mixture of believers and skeptics. And she says the most recent adventure in Fort Whitley near Portsmouth, Hampshire on April 30th was the most terrifying yet. Debbie and a group of 24 ghost hunters ventured into the coal tunnels beneath the reputedly haunted building, only to be frightened witless by a thunderous roar that reverberated all around them at around 2 a.m. Despite her vast experience of investigating the paranormal, even Debbie was shocked to the core by the degree of aggression she says it conveyed. She said, I've never before in all my time of doing this experienced that level of aggression coming from the tunnels. She added, it was so loud, it was giving a terrifying message. I think the spirits wanted us out of the tunnels. They wanted us to run out, and we did. I have often heard the spirits shouting, get out, repeatedly during investigations, but to hear such aggression was significant and something I'd never seen before. Debbie first became aware of her psychic senses as a child when she would often feel a presence, but she began to have visitations during the night when she was in her 20s, and that became concerning. She said, I could always feel presences in places. I could feel strangers, but I would dismiss them, and I could also see spirits. She added, it was scary at times, but other times it just wasn't. I would just brush it off, and then the spirits would move on. I used to get terrible visitations when I tried to sleep, which was more frustrating than it was scary. Debbie added, I would see rows and rows of people as far as the eyes could see, but I could never see their faces, and they were all white and cloudy. Nothing was ever defined, but you could tell that they were people, and they were always jostling and demanding my attention. They needed my help, but I would always tell them to go away. Then in November of 2012, Debbie's life changed forever after a spirit attached itself to her and refused to leave her alone for over a year. She actually feared for her life as the spirit, which was initially invisible but eventually turned into an ominous shadow, would taunt her by moving items around and eventually becoming aggressive and dragged her down the stairs. Terrified, she turned to various churches for help, but says no one knew what to do. She said the spirit just wouldn't go away. The haunting got particularly bad, and it was poltergeist haunting, a spirit that causes physical disturbances, so objects would be moved. Things would fly around, and I even got attacked, she went on to say. I was pushed down the stairs and dragged by my ankles. That happened 4 or 5 times. And one time it was even witnessed by a friend who ran out of the house. She added, I was literally stalked for over a year. The spirit was a bit taller than I was, around 5'7", and quite wide. There was a weight to him, which is funny to say about a spirit. I was absolutely terrified. I had no idea how to deal with it, and at the time I couldn't see him, but I could feel him. Desperate to escape being tormented by the spirit, she went to a medium and realized that she needed to let go of any negative energy that was keeping the specter latched onto her and attached to her. Thankfully, by the end of 2013, the spirit left her in peace, but there was no turning back for Debbie, who had become intensely passionate about the paranormal. She said, the spirit took over my life. I thought I was going completely mad. It got to a stage where it didn't matter where I was. He would appear and perform. She added, he started moving objects to scare me and get my attention, which was witnessed by friends and even colleagues at work. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. They were just shocked. It was the most difficult year of my life, but I don't regret it because it got me to where I am today. Debbie added, I believe these things happen for a reason. Still working at a conventional 9-to-5 office job, in 2015, Debbie decided to join a paranormal group before going on to start Ghost to Ghost. She said, when I lead these investigations, we're going to look and hear the spirit's story. She added, I spent years trying to process and understand what I went through with that attachment. By going on paranormal investigations and making contact with the spirits, I feel like I am finally getting answers and making sense of things. But sometimes spirits can be quite sassy, according to Debbie, who was repeatedly insulted by them during special happenings in which ghosts appear in abandoned buildings. She said, I've had a spirit tell me to fuck off before now. And I've even been called the C word.
Oh.
Wow. Sassy spirit.
Ghost.
Yeah, spicy, sassy spirits. Sometimes there's a lot of humor in it, though. I'll hear them laughing. I've seen shadows of women, a silhouette of a person, and a child. Debbie added, I have seen spirits do peekaboos. Oh, they do peekaboos. Look at that. You never know what you will get until you go on an investigation, she says. It all happens on the energy of the group. Blessed by boundless enthusiasm for the unknown, Debbie regularly attracts skeptics as well as believers to her investigations. She said, I'd invite anyone who is skeptical to come to one of our paranormal events and ask them to stay open-minded. It's a truly remarkable experience, and we've had plenty of people who didn't believe when they arrive, leave thinking differently. Through the investigations, not only has Debbie found love, she's also met her best friends, personal trainer 37-year-old Tony Ferguson and his 47-year-old financier wife, Beverly, who are both regulars on the hunt. She said, Emily and I met Bev and Tony a few years ago after they came to one of our events, and we all became best friends. We do a lot of investigating with both of them. And since we became friends, we do little investigations, just us four, and it's quite amazing. The energy with them on board increases dramatically, and they're such lovely people, and they've really opened the door for us. So there you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a very happy story.
Yeah, it is.
And I love that she put it's the group energy when you're doing investigations. People forget that.
Yeah.
That we're all energy. We all put out different energy. Some of us have bad days. It's negative energy. We have good days, positive. So when you get a group of people with certain type of energy, that does invoke the spirits.
Yes, it does.
They feed off that energy.
Yes, it does. And you're right. The dynamic of a group really does determine sometimes how an investigation goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I mean, you've probably been on investigations where the dynamic of the group wasn't great, so the investigation wasn't that great.
Very true.
And then you've had it where you all just have perfect energy and you're getting evidence left and right.
Very true. Very true. Paul McCartney says he's too practical to believe in those ghosts, however, Bruiser.
Oh, Sir Paul.
Just doesn't happen. Paul McCartney is a practical person, so he doesn't exactly believe in ghosts. When the former Beatle hears a bump in the night, he brushes it off, thinking about the house's plumbing. However, just because Paul doesn't believe in the supernatural doesn't mean he doesn't believe in spiritual signs. On Halloween of 2017, Paul revealed that he doesn't believe in ghosts on his You Gave Me the Answer blog. He said he's too practical to believe in the supernatural. Oh, Paul. I would say no, not really, Paul answered. I've heard bumps in the night, but it's usually the plumbing, you know? I'm a bit too practical, he said, so if I see something or hear something, I normally will reach for a rational explanation. I do know a lot of people will go, ooh, and I think, oh, that must be something spooky. No, the thing is, I've never seen a ghost, so I can't believe in that. I'm not sure, he says. Although Paul has never seen a ghost, he has had many spiritual moments. He claims he received messages from his first wife, Linda, who died in 1998. Well, then how has he said he's never seen?
How is he not believing if you get a message from her?
Yeah, exactly. He said, I've had all sorts of interesting sorts of spiritual moments, Paul said. I mean, I remember after Linda died, I was on a horse ride on my own, and I remember seeing a pure white squirrel, and to me, it seemed like that was a message from Linda. That was like Linda's incarnation. So, I mean, I've seen little things like that, but no ghosts. So, wait a minute. He saw an albino squirrel and that was Linda?
I was going to say, like, he's confusing himself here. Like, you believe in something, obviously, if you thought a squirrel was her.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't her shape, you're not, it wasn't a ghost. It was somebody needs to educate him that spirit and ghost are kind of the same thing.
Yeah. A little bit. Paul also claims he received a sign from Linda when he was about to start dating his second wife, Heather Mills. He felt guilty about moving on with another woman. However, he eventually started getting signs he knew were from Linda, saying it was okay to move on. In 2001, Paul told Rolling Stone, I beat myself up a bit about that, but I referred it all to Linda. And I started to get a message that it was okay, that she wouldn't mind.
Was Linda the one-legged one, or is it the new one's the one-legged one?
Heather was the one.
So the new one
was the amputee. Yeah.
So maybe that was the sign. Like, it's not a full woman, so it's okay to move on.
No, Bruiser. No. Bad Bruiser.
Yeah, that was a bad pun.
Nothing you'd really want to go into because it's very private, but there were strange metaphysical occurrences that seemed to mean something. Animal noises, bird noises. You'd ask yourself a question under the stars, and there'd be like an owl in the valley going, hoo, hoo, hoo. Things like that. That was just Roger Daltrey out there fucking with you. That's all that was. The former Beatle also says he felt the spirit of John Lennon. Well, this answers one of our questions.
Yep.
Linda isn't the only one who has given the former Beatle signs. Paul has never seen John Lennon's ghost, but Paul has felt his presence, he says, and has communicated with his spirit. So what the hell is the thing about not believing in ghosts?
Yeah, he's totally contradicting himself here. What he's doing right now is he's trying to please everyone. He's trying to please the skeptics and the believers.
Yeah.
He's just being a celebrity.
Yeah. The Beatles felt John's presence in the studio while recording Free as a Bird. He says there were a lot of strange goings on in the studio, noises that shouldn't have been there, and equipment doing all manner of weird things, Paul said. There was just an overall feeling that John was around. We put on one of those spoof backwards recordings at the end of the single for a laugh to give all those Beatles nuts something to do. He said, then we were listening to the finished single in the studio one night, and it gets to the end, and it goes, Zrk, John Lennon, grrk. I swear to God, we were like, it's John. He likes it.
Oh.
After recording Free as a Bird and Real Love, the Beatles went inside the studio to take a photo. A rare white peacock entered the snapshot off to the side at the last minute. Paul claims the white peacock was John's spirit. Paul said, that's John. Spooky, eh? It was like John was hanging around, and we felt that all through the recording. Still, Paul summons John's spirit and imagines they're working on lyrics together. In an interview with Uncut, Paul reiterated that he consults John during the songwriting process. So Paul hasn't seen any proof of ghosts, but he has tons of evidence of life after death. He received...
so contradictory.
Yeah, he is. He's the ultimate oxymoron.
Yep.
He received signs from some of the most important people in his life, and they've helped him, according to him. So there you go.
So yeah, he doesn't believe in actual ghosts, but he believes in spirits.
Yeah.
He's just trying to please everybody is what he's doing.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
A couple more stories today on supernatural news. Witnesses have reported a sighting of a giant red-eyed man-bat in Bensonville, Ohio. Illinois, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say this is by O'Hare Airport.
Yeah.
I remember the news actually covered it around here.
And Bensonville, Illinois. And by the way, that's kind of Mothman territory as well.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. They were the local. I'll let you read the story, but the local news here was comparing him to Mothman.
Well, it could be one and the same. There's a sketch I'm looking at that was drawn by Phantoms and Monsters 40 and research team member Vincent Richardson, which is kind of a scary little sketch. Manuel Navarrete of UFO Clearinghouse said he received the following report at the end of April, which details an encounter with a winged humanoid in Bensonville, Illinois, that reportedly occurred on the April 28th. He said, I was at work Thursday night. I had just brought back a man lift from a construction site that we had picked up and brought back to the yard. I had just driven the man lift off of the trailer and was just about to get back into the truck to park it when I saw some movement from the back of the yard. I grabbed a flashlight and headed back toward the storage containers that are kept in the back. I saw something on top of the container and I shined the light on it and asked them what the hell they were doing back there and said that I was about to call the police if they didn't. Hold on a second here. This just jumped on me. I saw something on top of the container, shined the light on it, asked them what the hell they were doing back there, and said that I was about to call the police if they didn't get out of there. I kept walking toward them and yelling when I heard a series of clicks, rapid fire clicks, and what sounded like chirping. I'm a bit of a history buff, and back in World War II, U.S. troops used to carry these clickers called crickets that they used to communicate with one another. This sounded like those clickers, only faster and louder, the same pitch and tone. I was about 12 feet from the containers when I looked up and was met with a pair of red eyes that were staring directly at me. These were attached to what looked like a tall being that must have been at least 6 to 7 feet tall and looked like a giant man-bat kind of thing. I lost my shit and started backing up while trying not to scream like a little girl. This man-bat was partially lit up by the lights we have around the yard. I tried to shine my flashlight on the thing and it started clicking at me and took off into the air. It took off towards the north. I practically ran back to the truck and got in and parked it. I swear to God, I sprinted towards my car, which was parked by the main building where it was lit up by the street lights. Thoughts of something swooping down to attack me were swirling around in my head. I got in my car and left, not stopping until I got home. The witness was reluctant to speak at first with Navarrete, but the investigator said he was eventually able to convince the man to speak with him about his experience. The witness reportedly told Navarrete that he has been a driver for an industrial equipment rental company for about 3 years. It was while parking his semi-truck and trailer after returning to work to drop off a man lift, a movable platform used to raise and lower workers, that the witness said he encountered the entity. According to Navarrete, the witness told him that he had seen movement along a row of transportation containers used for storage in the back of the yard and decided to investigate. At first, he thought it was an intruder looking to steal tools or equipment, so he reached into his truck and retrieved a large Maglite flashlight. As the man walked towards the containers, Navarrete said he saw something standing on top of the containers and got closer and noticed a pair of big red eyes. We're kind of going over the same territory here. There have been 2 other purported sightings in Bensonville since Navarrete received the report, but either sighting has yet had the requisite witness contact and investigatory follow-up to be considered for publication by the Singular Fortean Society. Further updates on those reports may qualify them for publication at a later date.
There was also, because when it took off, employees at O'Hare saw it, and they were reporting it.
Really?
However, the tower didn't see it.
Huh.
So it didn't fly high enough for the tower to see when it took off. But it was enough where people on the guys that park your planes, they got the lights and stuff, they saw it.
Yep.
And then there was a couple other warehouses that saw it too. Yeah, and the picture I saw, it looked like an early picture of a Mothman. Just more bat-like. Like the wings were more jagged. It wasn't that flowing wings. It was,
Yep.
jagged. Yeah. So I'm glad it made national news because it was around here. It made the actual 10 o'clock news here. So.
Huh. Like you had mentioned before, Bensonville is directly adjacent to O'Hare International Airport and has been the epicenter of recent winged humanoid sightings in the Lake Michigan Mothman investigation. Over a dozen sightings reports coming from the airport itself since August of 2019, and many more reported in the surrounding communities. Reports from the larger investigation have come from every state bordering Lake Michigan and date back to 1957.
I'm going to be in O'Hare this weekend, so I'm going to guess what I'm going to be doing.
You're going to take a shotgun and go hunt Mothman?
I'm going to do it. I'm excited, Tim. This weekend, I have a layover at O'Hare, and then I have a layover at the Denver airport.
Really?
So I'm going to be entertained.
Wow. Wow. Look at you. I guess you are. You got a little time on your hands. You'll be able to go out there and look for him.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's unfortunately, because my system's not working, I can't play the trailer for Tom DeLonge's new paranormal sci-fi adventure thriller, Monsters of California, but it's out there. Take a look for it yourself online. Again,
Link 182, Tom DeLonge, correct?
Yep. And the guy who tried to get involved with AATIP, AATIP. Paranormal sci-fi adventure thriller, Monsters of California. Look it up. That's just a tip from me to you. Also, Surreal Estate, previously canceled paranormal drama series, will return for season 2 on Sci-Fi. The Canadian drama series was canceled last year. It will return for a second season for a premiere in 2023, according to Sci-Fi. The series, which stars Tim Rosen, Sarah Levy, Adam Corson, Maurice Dean Witt, Savannah Baisley, and Tennille Reed, follows an elite team of specialists at the Roman Agency who handle the cases no one else can. Haunted and possessed houses that literally scare would-be buyers away again returns in 2023 on Sci-Fi. So that's going on. Got a story here, Bruisers. Scientists rank the 8 best movie time machines of all time. Would you like to know the order these go in?
Yes, and I'm really hoping the DeLorean is number 1.
Well, let's find out, shall we?
Let's find out.
Number 8 is Bill and Ted's Phone Booth.
Okay.
It turns out that Stuart Davey, a computation physicist and vice president of data science at AI startup Peak, thinks that the design makes the contraption so appealing. He says it really sits at the intersection of technical authenticity and the human machine experience, grounding the whole movie series.
Okay.
We won't get into too much on the technical side, but that's what he thinks. Number 7 is Tenet's Turnstile. If you've seen the movie Tenet.
A very good movie.
Tenet's time machine is a huge turnstile which turns one way or another, inverting or reverting the way you or objects or even cars travel through time. Haroon Siljak is an assistant professor at Trinity's College Dublin's School of Engineering and a part-time sci-fi writer. He says, as a time travel paradigm, the concept itself is a favorite of mine. As far as the science goes, Dr. Nikki Effingham says, by the way, a philosopher at the University of Birmingham specializing in metaphysics and the philosophy of time travel, that Tenet's time machine is based on the idea of thermodynamics and it being reversible. He says it's a great film for It's great for film, but a terrible interpretation of physics, by the way. It makes it sound like which way you're traveling through time is some fundamental physical property we can dick around with. That's a scientific term, by the way, that we can dick around with in the same way that we can dick around with whether you're magnetically charged or not. But that's not the way that thermodynamics says. By the way, I love the fact that a scientist says dick around.
Dick around, yep.
Yeah.
That's published in a paper somewhere.
It is. Number 6 is Doctor Who's TARDIS. I'm surprised that it's only number 6.
Yeah, I thought that'd be a little bit higher because it's more well-known.
Right. What other time machine gets a decorating job every few years, keeps updating its canon, and has an Olympic-sized swimming pool, or even a personality? By the way, we're going back to Dr. Siljak. The way the TARDIS operates and interacts with the Doctor is also a great suspension of disbelief catalyst that allows me to enjoy a plot and that it has holes, is what Dr. Siljak says, and it comes in at number 6. By the way, Bruiser, your DeLorean comes in at number 5. Back to the Future's DeLorean comes in at number 5. There are no prizes for guessing which time machine our expert panel of time-traversing enthusiasts like the most. I adore the DeLorean, Dr. Sanjana Curtis says, an astrophysicist and researcher at the University of Chicago, tells Inverse, not because of the flux capacitor tech, but because it's so camp, they went on to say. Curtis also loves that the DeLorean's iconic design is just as weird as everything else in Back to the Future. It makes as much sense as time travel, by the way.
See, I just have a special place for the DeLorean because that's one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, and it's original too.
Yeah.
Number 4 is H.G. Wells's Time Machine. What it does is it reverses your direction to travel. Although Wells didn't describe his time machine in much detail in the book, the version imagined in the 1960 movie looks perfect for the era. H.G. Wells' Time Machine from the 1960 movie is stylistically my favorite. Lawrence Moroney, head artificial intelligence advocate at Google, tells Inverse, my mortal enemy, by the way. Its cyberpunk awesomeness is mind-blowing. I love the spinny wheel at the back with a compass rose. They just don't make them like that anymore. That's the quote from there. Number 3 is the Primers box. What it does, it just reverses your direction of travel. Everyone expert we interviewed, it says, mentioned Primer. Some even showed us diagrams of its labyrinth time loops. Here's the quote here. It's the most deliciously confusing time travel film. That, according to Dr. Darian Rad, a research and development data scientist at AI company Peak, it features a single looping, overlapping timeline that allows the characters to interact with continually multiplying copies of themselves. Primer, for those who haven't seen it, it features 2 person-sized time machine boxes. Main characters Aaron and Abe use them to travel 6 hours into the past, but as tensions rise, timelines get messy, and they eventually rely on additional fail-safe boxes to travel further through time to try to resolve the issues the shorter trips create. The beauty of a film like Primer is it makes perfect sense to you while you're watching it, McDonald went on to say. So there you go.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to put that on my list.
There you go. Number 2 is Planet of the Apes' Icarus.
Okay. The spaceship, yep.
Yep. What it does, the spacecraft goes really, really fast. The Icarus's Liberty 1 spacecraft isn't technically a time machine, but it inadvertently becomes one. Several experts tell us that it's one of the most realistic depictions of time travel in film. Dr. Ronald L. Mallett, professor emeritus of physics at the University of Connecticut and author of Time Traveler, a scientist's personal mission to make time travel a reality, says the original Planet of the Apes movie features his favorite time machine because it's the only one that seems possible. To understand how the spacecraft in the Planet of the Apes can travel through time, we need to look at Einstein's special theory of relativity and a complicated idea called time dilation. Basically, that time passes differently for someone who is moving extremely fast compared to someone who is staying still. He says if you were on a rocket traveling close to the speed of light when you return to Earth, only a few years might have passed for you, but decades could have passed on Earth, Mallett says, since time is running at a normal rate for everyone else.
Yeah, I've heard that because of Star Trek, where they say or Star Wars, if you travel at the speed of light, it feels like you're on the ship for 3 months, but really 6 years has passed.
That's
where you're going to.
That's right. And the number 1 time machine, according to experts, Bruiser, is Terminator's time displacement equipment.
Okay. I can get behind that.
I can too. What it does is that the time machine teleports you back to the past. The Terminator movies are all about time travel, but we don't get a good look at the time displacement equipment that sends both cybernetic assassins and human soldiers. By the way, I should probably hit this. Yeah. But you don't get a good look at the time displacement equipment that sends both cybernetic assassins and human soldiers to the past until Terminator Genesis in 2015. Until then, we only know that it's a time machine because naked dudes are dropping in from the future. But when we do see it, boy, does it bring the futuristic drama. Huge rotating rings and lightning.
Yep.
It's also responsible for one of the most confusing and memorable time travel loops in cinema history. In the original movie, John Connor sends Kyle Reese back in time to save Sarah Connor so Reese can become John Connor's father.
Yep. If you break it down, Terminator's a love story.
It really is, yeah.
Kyle Reese fell in love with the picture of John's mother and went through time to find her. It's a love story.
It is. Our Dr. Effingham says, Skynet doesn't seem to realize that you can't change the past and that whatever you do brings about the future that you're in. He says some rudimentary testing would be a dead giveaway that you couldn't go back in time and change the past no matter how hard you tried. But they try it anyways.
I'm surprised they didn't put the movie Timeline, their time machine in there.
I don't know.
That was a great time machine. That's a great movie, too. Great TV show, also.
Yeah. It's this conundrum, by the way, that underpins the whole series. Without Reese and the first Terminator, there would be no John Connor and no Skynet, and the future never exactly gets rosier, though the people in the new futures don't seemingly realize that has changed.
Yep.
Yep. So there you go.
It shows you that no matter what time it is, if it's fate to happen, fate will happen.
That's right.
Can't deny fate.
Goddamn AI. Just saying.
It's a love story.
Oh, look at you. You're all rosy about it. It's a love story.
I just say that because it makes my wife so mad, because I'm like, hey, we're going to watch a romantic love story, and I put in Terminator. Because it is. When you break it down, it is.
Well,
he goes through decades to get to her.
He does. We should just end it on love, shouldn't we?
Yes.
That'll be our program for today. That's supernatural news for a Wednesday. Tomorrow we're supposed to have Caroline Cody, but I got kind of a squirrely PR guy on my hands, so we may call an audible tomorrow. But tomorrow is supposed to be Caroline Cody and a new UFO documentary, but this is a proverbial big butt of our sentences, Mr. Dull, my honors history teacher, used to say to me. I got me a squirrely PR agent, so we may call an audible tomorrow, Bruiser.
Okay.
Yeah. So
your audibles are usually good, though, so that's okay.
You may get Caroline Cody. You may get a surprise. We'll see.
You're the Peyton Manning of podcasts. Look at you.
I am. Omaha. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. That's what will happen here on the best in paranormal podcasting, Darkness Radio. For Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. I want to thank you guys for continuing to tune in week and week out, podcast in and podcast out. We certainly do appreciate you guys, every single one of you. Want to encourage you to keep sending in those Parashare emails, tim@darknessradio.com. Want to keep hearing from you as well. We want to get those Parashares in, and we're going to keep finding stories to bring to you as well, week after week. You know what? Next week on True Crime Tuesday,
what?
Other than hiccups that I just let loose, I got some true crime paranormal stories for you.
Ooh, I love those. For
dumb crime, stupid criminals. And by the way, folks, if you're not a Stitcher Premium subscriber, do that, because we're going to have some true crime paranormal experiences for you on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals
for next week.
Yeah, we're gonna unleash that on you. And the first part of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, we're gonna do some true crime paranormal stories, and then we'll launch into the funny. So we're going to do that next week. So become a Stitcher Premium subscriber. Not only will you get Darkness Radio ad-free, but you'll also get Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, one of the funniest parts of True Crime Tuesday, and much, much more. You also get all of Stitcher podcasts ad-free, and much, much more as a Stitcher Premium subscriber. You can do that for just $5 a month by going to Stitcher.com, clicking on the premium button, and signing up. You can even get a month free by using code DARKNESS. So do that right now. For Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us today. Join us again tomorrow for an all-new episode of the best in paranormal podcasting. This has been Darkness Radio.